Hi, a travel bubble has opened up between Australia and New Zealand in this COVID world, and we hope to finally make a trip across to New Zealand to see our mother, who we haven't seen since March of 2020. Come for the ride. Hi folks, well, I hope you liked that high-tech intro. Anyway, my bags are packed, I'm ready to go. First time travelling overseas in over a year, and had to dust this baby off. We're off to New Zealand. Yeah, some family time and just a long weekend, and let's hope that everybody behaves themselves COVID-wise. There's a case in Sydney right now, a little nervous, but we got a little over probably 36 hours before we leave, and we're really looking forward to it. Anyway, come along for the ride. Well, here we are a day after my last recording, and we're due to fly tomorrow, and with the COVID outbreak in parts of Sydney, the New Zealand-Australia travel bubble has been paused from midnight tonight, so we just frantically had to cancel everything, call everybody, and wait for another day, I guess. What can you do? This is the COVID world, so just have to roll with the punches, and and drink some wine, I guess. Anyway, more later. Well, here we are. Time's progressed on a bit. We're now on the at the 11th of June, and we're going to try and make that trip again to Wellington tomorrow. That's Saturday the 12th. Queen's birthday here in New South Wales. I know the Queen's got so many different birthdays. I'm sure she must be around about 237 in reality. Anyway, 10 o'clock tomorrow, we should be leaving, and so far no COVID around, so we might actually make it. Anyway, let's go. Yeah, here we are in the first class lounge. Masks on, and had a beautiful breakfast, and ready to go, feeling relaxed. Beautiful morning from the first class lounge here at Sydney Airport, but the tarmac is oh so quiet. Couple of cargo aircraft going in and out, but the rest are just sitting there. Here we are taking off from Sydney's runway 34 right, heading to the north. Botany Bay over there in the distance, and you can see runway 34 left, just in front of us now. The international terminal is just in the centre now, and that's where we were sitting just before. We're now going to make a right turn, fly for about 2,200 kilometres, and we should be pretty close to where we want to be. Over in the distance there you can see the Blue Mountains, just a sort of a haze in the distance, and here we've basically got some of the southern suburbs between the airport and the actual city. The city is the dark little bit you can sort of see directly in front of us now. The sunlit ribbon of Sydney Harbour. There in the distance you can see North Head, and that's where Manly is as well. And here we're looking at Randwick Racecourse as we head out over the eastern suburbs. Coming up on the beaches fairly shortly. It's quite a beautiful morning here. That sunlight on the sea. The Central Coast where I actually live is in the distance, sort of on the horizon there basically, and we're just coming up on Coogee Beach, Wedding Lake Rock just out off Coogee Beach there, and looking just further up there with that horseshoe sort of beach facing towards us is Bondi. I don't know if you've heard of Bondi, but it's one of the more famous beaches in Sydney, and here we are looking back. You can see the CBD now, basically at the left hand side. Bondi Beach there, South Head, North Head, beautiful morning. Getting close now, we're over the Cook Strait in New Zealand. Over on the left you can see the Marlborough Sounds at the top of the South Island, and on the right you can see a little bit of the North Island. Sunlit sea again as we make short finals into Wellington. Very quick arrival past Oriental Bay, and here we are. And with the same urgency as our arrival into Wellington, we're now driving up through the suburbs behind Wellington on our way to see our mother. It's windy roads, very green, very pleasant. Wellington is known for its hills, for earthquakes, and for wind. Luckily we didn't strike the earthquakes or the wind to any great extent, or to no extent for earthquakes. But yes, the weather was quite kind to us. You'll notice if you see it quickly that a lot of the houses are actually made from wood. And the reason mainly being is that wood is more flexible in earthquakes, so obviously won't crack as brick or other sort of cement type products would. Although these days construction basically is to a standard where earthquake proofing of those materials is possible. Mini on the roof there. So we're getting excited now, getting close, and here we are. Well, here we are in Kelburn, Wellington, top of the cable car. Bit of a grey day, but still not too bad. We're out sailing there in the water. So yeah, just going to have a nice lunch. Here we are at Parramatta, Patanui Inlet, just off the beach. A lot of boat sheds there. Yeah, a bit of a cloudy day, but not too bad. Some oyster catchers just waiting around. I never actually got that. Oyster catchers. I didn't know you could catch oysters. I didn't know they ran away. Lots of family history here. That's the Reed boat shed. I used to keep one of my boats in there once. The Parramatta Bridge just behind it, which is basically the inflow for this Patanui Inlet, which is sort of an inland waterway, although we call it a bay. I don't know why. That's Golden Gate, which basically is a peninsula poking out into the bay. And just swinging back, the hills are all nice and green. They were all sheep paddocks when my parents moved there many years ago. And Parramatta Boating Club. So much history. Things always look better at high tide. Parramatta Bridge over Parramatta Channel, a deep channel, as you'll see in a moment with the shelving. It can run quite vigorously during spring tides. During my time of sailing here, we always avoided the bridge in case you got dragged under. Some quaint little boat sheds which some people have obviously turned into homes. Not sure of the legality of that, but they look very cute with their different colours and stuff. Parramatta Boating Club. Boats stored down below, socials in the middle floor, and the top was the starting box for the start of the races. This was where we spent all our Sundays, mornings during the summer, all of Easter, during the Easter regatta. And we had a fleet of 110 P-class yachts, which were the training boats of the day, equivalent to the Optimists now. And, look, the home of Team New Zealand, America's Cup. Who'd have thought? Sunday morning and the boats would be pulled out of these storage sheds, rigged up on the deck here, masts up, sails up, tuned, and ready for racing. Young kids, 8 to 15 say, would be getting all their boats ready to race, and then queuing up basically to get to one of the two ramps to actually launch them into the water. So there's one ramp now. So Browns Bay looks nice with the tide in, and this is the other side of the Golden Gate Peninsula I spoke of earlier. So this is up the bay, as we used to call it when we were young kids. It could get quite rough out here, so it was a bit of a challenge. There we are, one of our childhood pastimes. Our parents would always take us down to the beach basically with any stale bread or chips from last night or what have you to feed the seagulls. Quite rewarding in the winter usually when they're hungrier and there's not much food around, so silver gulls basically having a good old scrap at the bottom while the black-backed gulls stand in the background or gracefully fly overhead and try and act aloof. and now back in Wellington. Oriental Bay, known as the Riviera of the South. It's a very upmarket part of Wellington and the closest beach to the city. It started life being called Duppa, actually, D-U-P-P-A, after George Duppa, who was the first person to sort of farm this area. He renamed it a little bit later to Oriental Bay as he arrived in New Zealand on a ship called the Oriental. What does that shop sell? Yep, fish and chips. Anyway, here's the old and the new. There's a lot of swanky apartments popping up, but we still have a lot of the grand old wooden houses, which are the originals of the area. The Espresso Coffee Express, maybe. I don't think it's gone anywhere in years, but here's the wishing well at Oriental Bay, some feature that was put there in the 60s. Once again, looking up at the hill, the monastery at the top of the hill, and some really large wooden houses there. They must be immaculate inside. More of the beautifully kept wooden houses, typical of Oriental Bay. A few there getting some upkeep. Overseas passenger terminal, tugboat restaurant, and the CBD. The hill at the top looking now is Mount Kauko with the TV aerial, so it broadcasts for miles around. You can't see it in this light, but the hills that run along the edge of the harbour are straight as a ruler, basically all the way up the Hutt Valley, and a result of earthquake fault line. Port Nicholson Yacht Club and the overseas passenger terminal in the background, which is basically now apartments. Seems to be the common thing to do these days. I sailed out of here for a little while on somebody's yacht years ago. Tugboat restaurant and the Freiburg pool, which was always freezing. Well, all good things must come to an end, and rush we do to chase the afternoon sun over Evans Bay. Taking off and crossing Mount Victoria now, and looking down on the CBD, we can see the overseas passenger terminal there, main city area, Aotea Quay with those ships, and the rail ferry terminal, where I sailed out of for 4.5 years, many years ago. And as we cross out towards the coast, heading out over the Cook Strait again, it's good to see that Wellington is using one of its assets very wisely, and you can see all the wind farm windmills dotted all over the hills here as we cross over the coast near Macra. So looking down to the bottom of the North Island, and beautiful view of the sun just against the hills before it sets. So yeah, it's a very stunning place. Over the Cook Strait now, and making our way towards the Marlborough Sounds, Tory Channel just in the middle centre. As we chase the sun back to Sydney, it's time to realise how lucky we were to get here at all. We had a great time with family, took 2 attempts to get there, but as we arrived back in Sydney, we heard that there was a new case of COVID, and that over the ensuing days started to spread extremely quickly. As of last night, we're now in a 14-day lockdown, so all I say to everybody is just take the opportunities you can to be with family, friends,